Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Bannon or Airspeed Prime here. I'm the site super moderator for Avatar The Last Airbender Online.com, the Avatar Legend of Korra and Avatar The Last Airbender fan site. I'm also the main host of that site's podcast, which is the Avatar Online podcast. So I urge you to check out both of them. Now basically what this video is about, it's going to be an Airspeed Discusses video. I haven't done one of these in a while, and it's pretty much just going to be a topic I haven't actually talked about on my channel, and it may come across as a bit weird. Mainly that I haven't actually talked about my thoughts on Korra, book one. I haven't talked about any of the episodes. I've talked about all the news, the coverage, and the lead up to it, and talked about the comics, even the recently released ones, but I just haven't talked about this, and yeah, that's what this Airspeed Discusses is going to be about. But before that, just some news. Actually, just something I bought. This yo-yo. I'm pretty into yo-yoing, but anyway, this is slightly Avatar related. The reason I bought this yo-yo mainly is because, one, it's a good yo-yo, and I was looking for a plastic yo-yo, and this is a good plastic yo-yo, and it's got customizable caps, and basically I took out the old caps for it, Yo-Yo Factory 1, the old caps, and I put in Avatar related ones, as you can see. Air Nomad, Airbender symbol, and Airbending arrow, I put it in. So it's a kind of Airbender related yo-yo, and I like that. So just a random thing. Big news, Korra is now 52 episodes, yep. To go along with book 1, 12 episodes, and book 2, 14 episodes, which we already know about. They get together make up season 1. Nick have ordered a second season, which is another 26 episodes, bringing us up to 52. Now we don't know the book breakdown of these second 26 episodes in terms of, is there going to be a book 3, does that mean there's a book 3 and 4, and so on. Just from what Michael Bryan have said before, that there is that they prefer to do the kind of shorter seasons, 12, 14 episodes. I'm just going to assume, as of now, that that's kind of what's going to happen. It's going to be book 3 and 4, 12, 14 episodes. But we'll probably find out in the next piece of news, which is that San Diego Comic-Con 2012 is basically happening right now. Tomorrow, July 13th, Friday the 13th, yep, unlucky for some, but it'll probably be lucky for the Avatar fandom, because that's when the Korra panel is, the big, basically Avatar event during the con, and hopefully we're pretty much guaranteed at this stage to get some information on that announcement, because they announced it just before, and some information on book 2. They'll probably explain what the situation is with regard to books there as well. And there's also going to be a fan panel on Saturday, and there's people like Dante Basco going to be there. There's also Sasaki and Kawano from Team Gurihiru, the artists on The Promise and The Search. They're going to be there, so that's going to be interesting. Hopefully we get an advanced preview of The Promise Part 3, or even just some more information on The Search. That'll be interesting. Yeah, so that's pretty much all the news. Yeah, the site will try. I'll try on the site to kind of cover San Diego Comic-Con the best we can. But since we're not, neither myself nor Jordan are going to be there, we're just going to be going off kind of people who are there, Twitter and stuff like that. So check the site. I'll have a discussion on the podcast at the weekend about what we hear about there. I might put up a video too on my YouTube channel about it as well, so there will be coverage places for this San Diego Comic-Con news. Now, onto this Airspeed Discusses, what this video is actually about. If you haven't seen Airspeed Discusses before, basically what it is going to be me talking about a topic, and then the idea is that if you want to, you're listening to this, you post a video response to this video, talking about your own thoughts on the topic and kind of some of the stuff I've mentioned and stuff like that. Or if you just want to text comment, just comment in the comment section on YouTube, that's perfectly fine as well. But the aim is kind of to get video responses That's kind of what makes it interesting and unique. And that the topic is basically book one, Heir of Korra, of the Legend of Korra, and my thoughts on it. I'm going to start off by saying this kind of general thing, which will kind of explain kind of my thoughts on like much of the stuff, and that is that we have seen 12 episodes of 52. We have not seen the whole series. It's I don't think it's really fair on the series as a whole to judge book one as all of Korra basically, which is what I think a lot of people are doing. People complaining about book one because we haven't got this, we haven't got that, we haven't got this, we haven't got that. That I think that's quite unfair because there are 40 episodes we have not yet seen that can do this or that sort of stuff. So stuff like Bolin didn't get much character development. There's still time for that to happen later on. The same reason, like you can't judge all of Avatar: The Last Airbender based on book one. You can't do for the same reason you don't do that. You can't do it here because after in book one you're like, wait, Aang hasn't developed that much. He's developed a bit, but he hasn't developed that much. Katara, Sokka, they haven't developed that much, and like Zuko especially, he develops a bit, but he has such a long way to go. So like you can't criticize book one because we haven't seen it all yet, and I think that's a bit of what the fandom is like at the moment. There's still book two, book three, and whatever left to go. 40 episodes still to see. So I'm not going to complain, give negatives about that sort of stuff because it's not fair. This is just the first 12 episodes of the show. They're kind of a equalist plot of the show. And that's what I'm going to judge this on. Overall, these 12 episodes were amazing. Just more Avatar after 4 years. It came back and it was like it hadn't gone away at all. It felt exactly like Avatar. The animation has improved. You can tell that stuff like Mike and Brian as writers have improved so much, and the whole kind of process for making episodes has improved. The plot is kind of really well done, and kind of especially what this show does well. It actually references the previous show really well. And they didn't do that just by sheer number of references, but by clever references, which I'll talk about that maybe a little bit later on in this video. But I'm going to start off with the kind of what really makes the book Korra so good, and that is the characters, and especially the way they're introduced and characterized. Character introduction was always something that Avatar has done well. From episode 1 of Avatar: The Last Airbender all the way up to the end and continues on in Korra. The way Korra is introduced is just so well done. The way that it's not all starting in Republic City. They introduce us to Korra in the Southern Water Tribe where she's still in training. They introduce us to her away from like a lot of other characters. Like Tenzin's not there yet. Mako and Bolin are not introduced yet. They introduce us to her pretty much on her own, and like the rest of the people around her are kind of like adults, older people controlling her. So it's a real focus on Korra as a character, and that's what I think the show does really well for its main character. Then we see kind of starting off in the Southern Water Tribe, like she's being controlled kind of as the Avatar, directed really specifically through her training. They bring the teachers to her as opposed to like before when the Avatar would go travel around to the different nations to learn. You see that she's really being like controlled. She's pretty much been kept in the Avatar compound against her will, almost like a prisoner, as she mentions. And so you completely understand her decision to then go out to Republic City, to go to Tenzin and train airbending now, because her whole thing is like she really wants to prove herself as the Avatar, because she feels she has this kind of spiritual block, airbending block, that she has to get over that as soon as possible. And Katara plays a really important role in the opening episode as well, and it kind of sets the tone for the whole series, in that she says, most of my friends are gone, like my brother Aang, my brother is gone. Pretty much it's only her and Zuko left alive, as we find out. But what that it's time for the new generation, your generation, to start to protect the world. That sets the tone that this is not going to be the Avatar: The Last Airbender character reference show, but it's going to be about Korra and the characters in Korra. Katara's not going to play a big role, but she's going to be the one to kind of explain to Korra that, yeah, you have to leave because it's your time now to take on responsibility and do this. That is what's why Katara is so important with that line, basically telling us, no, you're not going to see references to Avatar: The Lost Airbender characters in every single episode. It's going to be more important when they do references like that. Episode 9 with the flashback and the way the visions are kind of done is testament to that. So yeah, Korra done really well as a character introduced. Then going into episode 2, Tenzin's introduced really interestingly as an older character, older airbender. We haven't really seen much of him apart from Aang's flashbacks, and he already has a family. He has 3 airbender kids, and instantly 4 times the number of airbenders than we've kind of seen before. And Pem is pregnant still. That's a nice little reference there. She's pretty heavily pregnant, so you're like, oh, we're going to see the child born in the show, which we do, and that's nicely done. That they kind of go, you're pregnant in the first episode, and that's good. It's kind of a fun way to open it. Then things get exciting when we get to Republic City, and you see that Korra kind of really doesn't know much about the city or the kind of world as a whole, because she really doesn't understand the kind of bender, non-bender kind of thing at all, and thinks bending's the best thing in the world, yay, which is interesting. But then Bolin is introduced in a funny way, kind of. It's like he's a kind of ladies' man who's like, ooh, girl in the gym, I better help her out and she'll love me, and that sort of thing. And then Mako, when you see kind of the fact that Mako goes from completely dismissing Korra to at the end admitting he loves her, that's an interesting journey, and you really see how that develops throughout the whole series too. And I think with Korra, people say it's completely rushed, it's a terrible relationship, but I wouldn't agree with that. I think it's done quite well. Just throughout the episode, you see these little scenes of them interacting. Episode 3 has some of them. At the end of episode 2, then especially the moments when Korra's captured and how much Mako cares for her, and we know that she likes him from episode 5. So that's done really well. Episode 3 introduces Amon and the Equalists. That's a great episode for that kind of focus on them, introducing us to him and showing this power, not keeping his identity a mystery, and the way the show keeps that a mystery until the second last episode. Here's his backstory. Here's everything about him. That's very well done from the show's point of view. They don't give us his backstory too soon and kind of ruin some of the surprise maybe around the finale. That's done very well. Tarlok is a fascinating character when you look back at the series. Kind of as it develops, just watching it the first time, you kind of sort of forget about some of the stuff he's done previously. But looking back, when I rewatch it, having seen all the episodes beforehand, you see his plan that he has kind of developing from day one. He's manipulating everything to get into position, and he is a fascinating character in that he's sort of villain, he's sort of not a villain, and in the end, he kind of becomes a hero, I guess, in some form of a way. And stuff like that. Hiroshi and Asami are great characters too. Asami is a strong female character who is not a bender, and that she can hold her own. And Hiroshi's we don't see much of him, but that conflict between him and Asami throughout the series about the fact that he's so kind of blinded by his hatred for benders and rage that he can't see that he's blaming all benders for the actions of few, while Asami can see that, and that's very well done. The fact that Asami's kind of makes such mature choices. She never really kind of overreacts to stuff, and that makes her a really great character. And her and Bolin, I suppose, are the characters who don't get the most screen time in the show in terms of like development on them. They get some development this season, but them going into book two is going to be absolutely fascinating. Not necessarily them as becoming a couple or anything like that, but perhaps just the fact that Bolin by the end of this season has gone from in episode 3 being absolutely petrified of Amon. He's a good bender, but he's not. He doesn't even try to fight back against Amon. 2 in episode 12, coming in to protect Asami against his mega tank. On Naga throwing rocks, wrecking like runways as planes are taking off. He's really grown there, and the fact that he goes on that mission with Iroh and Asami without his brother, when his brother had pretty much like protected him kind of his whole life. That's good development for him. Subtle but good. So where he goes next season is going to be interesting. Is he going to be kind of less dependent on his brother, go more on his own? That's going to be interesting. Then, Mako and Korra, in a relationship at the end, that opens a lot for book 2. To kind of improve on their relationship now that they are actually together. That's good. Ooh. Okay. I'm getting into some of the problems now. The only problem overall I have with the series and the episodes is in episode 12 that the fact that they don't explain how Tenzin and his family are captured. That's my only problem pretty much with the whole series in terms of like the way the episode is like written. They just don't touch on that at all, and they need to say something, anything. Say like, oh, I sent some biplanes after the airships turned back. That's all Amon had to say to explain away that without going into it too much. But they didn't say anything, which is a bit of an issue. I suppose maybe once you hit about episode 11, they didn't quite explain maybe enough things well enough when it got close to the end. I felt maybe that they could have done a little bit more explanation on some things. Explain a bit more of the specifics of how Amon's kind of bloodbending, taking people's bending away works. This could have been easily done with, instead of Katara saying I don't know what's the problem with Korra, maybe Katara saying I can see what the problem is, this is what he did, but I'm unable to reverse it because I don't know what the specifics of his power. That way you sort of explain what Noah Amon's power did, but you still have the kind of a drama of Korra not being able to get her bending back. I thought that's maybe a better way they could have done it. But overall stuff like other people complain about, they didn't explain how they unlocked their chalk. No, sorry, that's my explanation. They didn't explain how Korra unlocked her spiritual side on airbending. You basically chakras are a lot of come up with the answer to a lot of these kind of spiritual kind of unlocking bending sort of things. Unlocking her air chakra, we know she admits she loves Mako at the end of the season. The air chakra deals with love. And then the whole spiritual side, Aang saying when we hit our lowest point we're open to the greatest change. I think that's explanation enough, I think, because if they actually explained it properly, they would probably have to go into too much detail that it would be like, what? Some people, maybe not as big into the fandom, wouldn't know what was going on. But overall, as I said, the characters are really good, really interesting. Music is done exceptionally well. The kind of new style suits the city and the whole feel of things with new technology perfectly. The technology fit in so well. Animation is just amazing. And the plot was, in the end, done very well in that, it was about Korra fighting this idea as opposed to fighting a big war, in that it wasn't about her defeating Amon in battle, it was the solution to it was that she outed him as a bender in control of the anti-bender revolution. That was cleverly done. It didn't need to be a huge battle. Some disappointments perhaps would be like there wasn't maybe enough bender on bender fighting outside the arena. Really, Tarlok versus Korra was like one of the only ones, and then a lot of the fights near the end, like when you have Tarlock bloodbending, Amon bloodbending, the fights were very heavily affected by bloodbending. So like you didn't really get proper kind of fights because there was so much emphasis on bloodbending as a powerful ability. But yeah, overall, there's some minor negatives about the season, but overall, it's very, very well done. It is just one of the best shows out there, if not the best show out there, like airing at the moment. They announced 26 more episodes. We have 40 more episodes to go. That is just a lot to look forward to. And to some of the people who are kind of being overly negative, just have to say, there's still more episodes to come. Like, they've announced more. There's so much more development they can do. It didn't all have to be done in those 12 episodes. They've set up a lot of stuff. Book 2, 2 and 3, possibly 4. Gonna be amazing. And that's pretty much all I want to say before I go on for too long. So again, please give your thoughts on the season. Wow. Your thoughts on the season or anything I said in the comments, or preferably as a video response to this video. That would be great. So, thank you for watching this video. I apologize for that burp and if I've been kind of very disjointed in this. I really don't like to plan out these videos when I do it like on camera on YouTube, despite the fact that I really heavily kind of plan out kind of podcasts, so I know what I'm talking about, just weird things. But thank you for watching this video. Video responses please, if you can, and bye.